How does a past life really work? Hi, I'm Mattias, and this is my soul perspective. As most of you know, I'm a regression therapist and a hypnotherapist, and I work with people taking clients back to past lives through past life regression therapy. Also with hypnotherapy, when you can work with people's phobias and anxieties and relationship and weight loss or whatever they want to work with. Well, a lot of questions I get is, can anybody do it? Go back to past life? And I would say, yeah, there are a small percentage of people that are very hard to get into a trance-like state. They don't respond that well or not at all to hypnosis. So that would perhaps exclude the hypnotherapy part. But when you're working with past lives, I find that you don't need a very strong or heavy trance-like state of mind, but you just need cooperation with the client. That's the most important thing. So anybody can do it, but can go under. Not anybody can take someone to a past life, of course. So you should always see a professional for that. And I've been working for 10 years as a regression therapist, and I really like the work. You know, it's very satisfactory to take people back to a lot of things that happened and went unresolved, and the things they see still has a connection to their present life. So it's a very effective method to solve and sort out old wounds, past hurts and traumas. And that's my favorite method to work with people to get to a higher state of being in this life and being freer to live your dream life, really. But I would say people who shouldn't go under the knife. It sounds like I'm really a plastic surgeon. No, who shouldn't really do it is, I think you should have your mental faculties, in order. That's very important. If you are like a patient in a psych ward, perhaps that wouldn't be the best thing, because it might be hard for you to, as a client, to sort of integrate what you've seen or experienced and felt, because you may think it happened in this life or ours, that it's still happening, and it might sort of exacerbate your paranoia, and we don't want to do that. So that would be irresponsible. And I always say the sort of regression therapy field is somewhere, I don't mean this in a sort of derogatory way, but if you're crazy going in, you're going to be crazy going out. So you better, it's best you seek like a psychiatrist or a psychologist. When you have like emotional stuff, or maybe even it might even be physical, but not physical in the sense that doctors and medical field can find anything. I would suspect that there can be some old roots going back to many previous lives. Then you're a perfect candidate, of course. So anybody can do it. Is it dangerous? No, it's not dangerous. I mean, it is not dangerous. But of course, as I said before, you need to have your mental faculties all the ducks in a row up here. You need to be cooperative with your regression therapist. So that's very important, because you can block your blessings. We all know that. That's certainly true for regression therapy as well. So can you get stuck? No, you can't get stuck. And a lot of people are fearful that me as the hypnotherapist will take control over you and do stuff against your will, but that's not really how it works. People confuse the type of work I do, my colleagues do all around the world, with like stage performers. They say, oh, we're going to see some hypnosis, and really it's sort of a form of manipulation. But that's not the clinical hypnotherapy and regression therapy work that I participate in. So as a client, you remember absolutely everything. That's the great part, because people think when they go under sort of a light trance state or even a deeper hypnosis that they forget, but they don't forget. They remember absolutely everything. I always make sure you talk with the client afterwards, These days I don't do very many one-to-one sessions. Sometimes I do. Well, actually these days I mainly focus on teaching new students techniques and really spreading the work as best I can. Well, work with groups and do online courses, and that takes up sort of most of my time. So what are the benefits of going back to past life? I think I've talked about this a few times, mentioned it. Of course you can do it just as a sort of fun experience, both actually, and just sort of go through your past lives vicariously with no intent on solving anything. And you might have sort of a sneaky, I call it a sneaky blessing, a sneaky benefit, that perhaps you see something that is connected to like an infliction in your present life, and it sort of magically dissolves. And I talked about that in my previous video when my very first time going under and doing a past life as a client, long before I ever became a regression therapist myself. I was spinning around in that previous life. Well, I had motion sickness really bad, and after the session it sort of, I would say to 90%, just sort of dissolved. That therapist she didn't seek out to help me that way. It was just sort of for pure entertainment, but it still worked. So you can imagine how powerful it is for you to sort of reconnect with these old soul memories, because your body remembers. You know, we have this sort of invisible field where we hold our memories, and if we don't get to solve everything, you know, we need to solve in one life, we take that over to the next life and continue to work on it. You know, it's called karma. That's sort of the true meaning of karma. You have to work out, you know, whatever thing you can't sort of sort out in one life, the lessons you need to learn, well, it gets passed along to the next and the next and maybe the next after that. But can you imagine how, you know, what a great job I have to be able to help people go back and sort things out, and it affects this life but many other lives as well, because on the other side, or in the sort of non-physical realm, we could put it, there are no time and space things and factors to really factor in. Whatever you do in this life affects your soul, and your soul is connected to each and every life you've ever had. So that's why it's, you know, whatever you're doing in this life, even if you were like a murderer or a terrible person in a previous life, you know, it sort of affects everything. The benefits, the big benefit, of course, is the work you can do when you go in with an intent as a client and as a therapist together, where you go in with the intent to really help and heal and let go of. Might be a few surprises along the way, but I've never unsuccessfully not found anything relating to the sort of quest in the beginning of the session. I had this one client, a man, who felt that everything was sort of his responsibility. He just felt such a huge burden on his shoulders regarding to his family, and he went back into a past life where he was a soldier many hundred years ago, and he had to leave his family, go into battle, and he was this sort of big time troop leader in that field. He felt such a heavy burden for all his men in the war, and also his family, his wife and his little boy that he had. They had sort of, you know, vested such belief, and he was really burdened by wanting to not disappoint them, because they really believed that he would come back. He did, by the skin of his teeth. It was so wonderful to see that client make the connection in sort of the months after that. He let me know that it had a huge impact on his life, and, you know, got a sense of relief from putting the puzzle together. Those are the types of courses, online courses, that I have, and you can find them at Mattias soulperspective.com. It's an awesome experience to go back and to release stuff and transform those sort of hard and horrible memories that makes us feel stuck in certain areas today. Because if we let go of that stuckness, the trauma, the fear that we all might have had or have in certain areas, the life quality and the life we can live and lead, it's beyond measure, beyond comprehension compared to being stuck and not feeling like you can sort of flow through life, because it's such a temporary, magical experience. You know, it's temporary, but there's magic along the way, but we don't want to block our own blessings. So we need to sort of take care of that stuff that holding us back, really. I often get the question, what's the strangest thing that's happened during a past life? And I mean, a lot of the strange things can happen, but I think what sort of is most surprisingly sprung on regression therapists in the beginning is that the client can be they usually need to pee, and that's not a problem. But the first time you're like, you know, when the client's like, I really have to go to the bathroom, because when your body relaxes that much, you know, everything relaxes, so they need to like relieve themselves. You know, you just sort of, you count them up. That sounded bad. You count them up, you know, from the trance. They're still sort of in a misty, foggy state. They go to the bathroom and then they come back and lay down. You just take them back like that. So that's sort of a strange experience, but it's very common and it's really not a problem. And of course, when it comes to sort of the strangest lives, well, you know, people have had extraordinary lives and really, really far back. That's pretty incredible. There's so many incredible lives, really. You might think, as a regression therapist, this is what I've learned a decade into it. You know, in the beginning you think, okay, they're gonna chop his head off on the square, or he's really gonna get hanged, or they're gonna, like, you know, stick a knife into him, because you think you know how the story goes. But the more you learn is how little you know, and how important it is to not make assumptions as a therapist, because you never know. It might take a really unexpected turn. And of course, a lot of people want to know also, does it hurt? Does it physically hurt if you go back to life and you see and feel and experience your own death? No, is the answer. You can feel a sensation. If someone's, let's say, strangling you, you might feel like a tiny pressure. But it isn't painful like that, so you don't have to be fearful of that. A lot of people want to know that. I think one life, I took someone back and they were sort of at the seat of, at the table with Jesus, and could like tell stories around that. So that was very exciting. A lot of boring lives as well. But that doesn't mean it's only boring. Well, if you think it's boring, I don't think it's boring. People think that they've all sort of been these great action heroes, but for a client, the first time they go under, it sounds so bad every time I say that, go under the knife, just go under a semi-light, very wonderful trance-like experience. As a client, they are very excited about talking about the field, and you go, what happens next? Well, I still see the field, and is there anything more important you want to tell me? I think there's a house at the end of the field. But for them, it's so, you know, they feel it's so magical, and of course it is. And when you least expect it, something really exciting happens. To use it as a method to release old hurts and old traumas, I mean, that's really, to me, the method to go by. And I love helping people getting rid of stuff they no longer need, that no longer serves them. You're welcome to take a closer look and see if you would like to go back to a previous life, or if you really want to do the work and release something that no longer serves you, that keeps you stuck. Go to mattiassoulperspective.com and you'll find something that can help you, I promise you. Do you have any other questions regarding past lives? Please just like me. No, do you have any other questions regarding past lives? Just hit me up with a question. Whatever number of questions you want to write, just write them. And please like, share, subscribe, you know, hit the bell, do whatever you feel like. Very grateful. Bye.